Hello students, this video is to give you a feedback from the Play Globally simulation. To access your individual reports, you should download the report and then add your information in the mail I sent you. So let me show you how to do that. You first should download the file and then you need to enter your personal information. Basically, you need to type your institutional email. Doesn't matter what email you used for sending the decision. You always need to type your institutional email, the email from your institution. It will always finish with the identification of your institution. Here, let me give you an example. Suppose this is my email, so no matter what is my actual email, but I need to use my institutional email, and this is one example of one of my personal emails. And also, you need to identify yourself with your student ID. So the code that identify yourself within the institution. You need to check that within your records or within the student office. Depends on if you don't have it. This is just one example. So in my case, this is one handle personal identification, and then I will be able to look to all the decisions that I made. Okay, I can check here if is everything all right. So it should be the decision that I sent and the same that you received in your institutional email as a receipt. After checking and validating your answers, you should go to the tab Outputs Performance to check what are your results. In the output performance, you should check your name to validate that here the result is related to you. And then the first thing is to look to your actual results in terms of market performance. So your market KPIs are basically the actual results that you achieved in the simulation. It's different from your forecast because now we're talking about what really happened in your simulation. So in my case, I achieved 0.38% of the market. The average revenue per user, the actual average revenue per user was $27, and I reached 165,000 customers in the target market. Moving beyond, I can look to the financial statement. So these are the actual financial results of my business. So my actual market revenues, that is basically the number of customers multiplied by the average revenue per user. So it means that I achieve $4.5 million of market revenues. And according to my entry mode, all of these become profit for my business, become revenues for my business. These are the fixed and variable costs for my business. And finally, the gross profit. That is the company revenues less the total cost of my business. From the gross profit, so this means that 79% of my revenues become gross profit for my business. I also need to pay for the other decision costs. That this is the cost here, $825,000, and the EBITDA, so the earnings before amortization, taxes, and depreciation is basically $2.7 million. The difference between these two here, and then I also need to pay for taxes. So I pay this amount of money in taxes. This is the net profit of my business, and since I'm using joint venture, basically half of this profit become profit. I need to share half of this profit with my partner, so my actual profit is this one. So this is the result that you achieved in terms of market and finance. Then move to the tab Grades to see the grades that you achieved. Here in the tab Grades, you'll see how much grades did you achieve in each of the key performance indicators of the simulation. And as you can see, I achieved, according to the explanation I gave before, how to measure your performance, and there is a video upon that. And Basically, given the number of my average revenue per user, I'm achieving level 2. This means that I achieved 2 grades. And in terms of usage, I am achieving 5 grades, and market revenues 5 grades, and net profit more 5 grades. So this is summing 17 grades. But remember that the maximum that you can achieve is 10 grades in the simulation. So this means that I have much more in the simulation, but the maximum is 10. It's just to let you know that if you have more than 10 grades, this will be reduced to 10 because this is the maximum of the simulation. So indeed, I achieved the maximum in the simulation, but also I can see my rank in the entire course. For instance, I achieved the position 242 in terms of revenue per user. I'm much better in terms of usage, so I have much more customers than in terms of position, and better positioned. I have a better position in terms of number of customers, and so on. I can compare my results in different dimensions just to let me know where I am in the simulation. You can go to the comparative report, and here you'll be able to see what are the main decisions made by your colleagues. So you can see what countries most of your colleagues choose for the simulation, the most used entry modes. For instance, you can see here that Germany was the country with the highest level of selection, and the second place you can see here the joint venture with a lot of people choosing joint venture, most of students choosing product quality leadership, promotion adaptation as the product communication mode. Also, we can see here the selective distribution is the choice that most students selected for distribution, and agency type we have more students selecting local agency. And also we have here the distribution of marketing and sales expenses. Now let's check what drives the performance of most teams in the simulation. As you can see here, from different countries that were selected, and in this graph we have the operational profit, so the final profit of all companies, and we are crossing the entry mode with the country selection. And as you can see, there are some countries achieving where students usually achieve higher profit. For instance, China, United States, also Germany. But if you compare different countries, there are many countries where teams can achieve a really good profit, like South Korea and Russian Federation and Mexico, Japan, and also in Brazil. But also you can see that some entry modes can lead teams. Of course, we're talking about much more than only the entry mode and the country selection. We have much more decisions beyond that is not appearing here. But as you can see, there are other types of decisions. For instance, in China, you achieve a higher profit in general, in average. Students achieved higher profit using the joint venture for China and for other countries. For instance, in Brazil, the highest profit was achieved with the greenfield, and also you can compare and see very good profit, for instance, United Kingdom using the greenfield as well. So as you can see, it's possible to achieve good profit, good results, depending on the characteristics of the country you are reaching, and also your entry mode and other strategies. And especially if you compare these companies achieving higher profit, you can see that, or you're looking for a country with a huge population or with a good GDP level, GDP per capita, but also you have other features. For instance, some small countries, not so big as Brazil or China, you can achieve a good profit if you're close enough to the country, and if you're risking more. So this means that this company it was supposed to be successful in some countries, especially these ones that I'm presenting here. Let's also compare the final profit for business with the type of agency selected and their product communication modes. As you can see, there are a lot of variation, but in general, the lower the profit, it was achieved when companies selected the home country agency, but this can be you can have some good profit. So in general, companies achieved a good profit, average profit, a median profit, with the product adaptation or the dual adaptation use home country agency. And it seems that home country agency leads to really low profit with the strafe extension. One thing that is interesting is that this also needs to consider other factors in the simulation. But when you compare other types, for instance, the local agency, we can see a clear trend that for local agency, the dual adaptation, it was much more profitable, or the product adaptation. And when you are not adapting your product or your campaign, it seems that the local agency, it's more effective than home country agency, but the profit is not that high, you know. So the profit is low if you're using local knowledge, but if you have local knowledge, but you're not using that to really change your value proposition, basically companies achieve a lower level of profit. And a multinational agency, the profit it seems to be really high. Of course, this also needs to be taken into account that most companies, most students select multinational agencies to enter in big markets where the potential is really high. So in these markets where the potential is really high, it seems that choosing the multinational agency, especially for dual adaptation, seems to be highly profitable. And it's interesting, we need to check probably the company that selected, the student that selected product adaptation with multinational agency is not entering into a really big market here. But the promotion adaptation and strafe extension with the multinational agency, it seems to also to provide a huge profit. So of course this represents average, and probably most students that selected multinational probably know that this is true, because most students that select multinational agency, they are really entering in big markets like China, United States, United Kingdom, and Germany. Now we can see the market penetration and the relation of market penetration according to the type of adaptation and also the type of agency. So let's start with this analysis. The home country agency basically provide a really low level of market penetration in all methods, and the local agency achieved good performance in all methods, especially the dual adaptation, and the multinational agency provides the highest level of market penetration, especially with the dual adaptation. This is what you see here in the trend. For instance, the dual adaptation for when you have a multinational agency is really high, and you have a reduction on that. And just for promotional adaptation, it seems that there is no difference between the multinational agency and the local agency. And the strafe extension, it seems that the multinational agency achieved somehow a better performance compared to the other ones. There are minor differences, but here a local agency provides a high level of market penetration, and the other methods are quite the same, no matter the type of agency you're using. But local agencies are much better than home country agency. The only approach where home country agency seems to be a little bit better is when they use the strafe extension. So basically this means that if you're keeping the same value proposition, the same agency that is used to work with you, then keeping everything the same, the strafe extension can make this company have a slightly better performance because they don't need to try everything new. They're using something that I know. But of course, this is worse than selecting these other options because you're moving to another country. So most of the time you need to adapt your strategy, your campaigns and products to fit local customs, local market. Now let's look to the market penetration in terms of entry modes and the product and promotion modes. We have a lot of variation. For instance, here in the greenfield, in the case of greenfield, you have much better performance in terms of market penetration with the Strafe extension. It means that if you're doing everything by yourself, probably it's better for you, and not that that's better for you, but compared to the other options, when you need to start everything from the scratch and also change your value proposition, you're testing much more things, and it seems that the Strafe extension is performing better with greenfield. In case of joint venture, it's exactly the opposite. If you're not changing your strategy, but you have a partnership with a local company, so what is the point of having local knowledge and local infrastructure if you're not willing to change your value proposition and campaigns? Indeed, with joint venture, you have much higher market penetration if you're able to adapt your products and adapt your campaigns, because you need to learn from with your partner, with the local company, what you need to change, and then the joint venture can give you better performance just because you're able to use this local knowledge to adapt your campaigns and your product to the market. And also we have some minor differences, for instance, in direct export. So usually there is a some small higher performance for the Strafe extension with direct export. Remember that direct export is a low risk entry mode, and usually companies are when they make efforts for changing their value proposition for direct exports, probably they are taking more risk and they are not using the full benefits of not adapting everything and not adapting your value proposition when you're just selling the products. So one of the great advantages of exporting is reducing your risk, and you can reduce your risk just doing everything the same. So in terms of the Strafe extension. So for the direct export, there is a slightly, really a small better performance for the direct export. But also you can check that the market penetration is lower because your price, you have price escalation and your price achieves highest levels here. And this means that the direct export, in general, you are less able to enter the market, to have market penetration when you compare to other approaches where you're really dealing directly with the market and selling directly there. So these are examples of the different performance achieved in the groups. Also, in terms of market penetration related to the type of distribution and the pricing strategy, as you can see here, selective distribution basically achieve the same performance no matter the type of pricing strategy you're using. But for instance, exclusive distribution performs really bad using skimming. So this means that exclusive distribution means that you're looking to really fill locations in the target market. And if you're going to reduce your price, but you don't have enough points of sale in the target market, if you don't have enough market coverage, it makes little sense for you to do that. So to really target the entire market, you need to reach more customers. And this is exactly what you see here with the intensive distribution, and they perform really well with the penetration pricing. So if you're going to reduce your price, it means that having an intensive distribution will allow you to reach coverage, to cover the entire market. So the market penetration will be higher. And also, if you're using skimming, also this allows you to cover the entire market. So you start with high prices, reaching some few stores, but then you move to the entire market, reducing your prices, and then you need to have a broader coverage of the market. But looking to the average revenue per user, according to the same factors, we can see that, that there is a different trend. For instance, the product quality leadership most of the time achieves highest average revenue per user. So if you have higher prices, customers will spend more money with your product, especially if you have exclusive distribution. But and for instance, with the intensive distribution, your product quality leadership does not perform so well. Probably you're trying to sell very costly products in all type of stores or all type of supermarkets, and there is no fit in this strategy because your companies, your customers, probably you perceive that you're trying to sell products that are costly for a mass market, so it makes little sense. But with penetration pricing, the intensive distribution performs really well in terms of average revenue per user and also the scheming strategy. Also, you can check here the trends of marketing and sales budget and the market penetration and the average revenue per user. As you can see, in average, as companies increase, as students increase the budget, they achieve the highest level of market penetration, but there is no linear trend here. You can see that as you increase the market and sales budget, the impact on market penetration is reduced. So as much as you invest, the impact will be reduced over the time. See, so this is what we call the diminishing returns effect. That is really well known in management and economics. And also we have the same trend, even stronger trend for the average revenue per user. So as you increase the market and sales budget, the impact on the average revenue per user is being reduced. So yeah, we also have these diminishing effects of marketing sales budget on average revenue per user. And finally, to wrap up, we have here the grades distribution of our students in the course. As you can see, just some few students achieved less than 10 grades. That is the value of the simulation, the course simulation here. And you can see that most students achieved something close to 17 grades. And if you're performing like achieving 20 grades in the simulation, you're just some few students achieve that, like something like 12% of the entire course. And also you can see that most students was able to achieve the maximum in the simulation, that is 10 grades, and of course this is just additional grades that will not sum up to your grades in the course. And to wrap up, what are the main or top performance decisions? So in terms of country selection, so the students that achieved 20 grades, so this is the top performance decisions. So students achieving 20 grades in the simulation, the maximum in the simulation, but not the maximum in the course. They basically selected these 5 countries here: Canada, Germany, South Korea, United Kingdom, and United States. And they choose one of these entry modes, greenfield and joint venture. They choose one of these 2 distribution strategies, exclusive distribution or selective distribution. So there is no intensive distribution in the top performance decisions. And also they spend more than $200,000. So this is to show you that there is a trend, and students that achieved the maximum selected these type of decisions, and these are really close to what I explained about how each of these decisions will fit to the type of market and also to the value proposition of the business. So you're talking about the luxury, and you need to have at least like exclusive and selective distribution. In that case, most of times to achieve a huge portion of the market, you need to be there, you need to have a partner there or to be there. So you need to risk more to achieve more higher results in general. Of course, you can bankrupt and lose a lot of money, but to achieve higher results, you also need to risk. And this is why these high risk entry modes lead companies to achieve higher performance. And looking to the countries here, most of them are really big countries like like United States, and a lot of them are close to your home market, like Canada, Germany, or they are big and with really good GDP per capita, like United Kingdom. And South Korea is a special case because it's a small country, but the decisions were really good for entering there, and one team or some few teams achieved, some few students achieved the highest score. And also, since we're talking about the luxury product, investing more than $200,000 leads you to achieve higher performance, meaning that if you're trying to develop a luxury brand, you need to invest more in marketing because it's more costly to convince customers that your brand is really valuable. And finally, students, remember that when you're making decisions, we need to take into account our creativity. It's not possible to deliver good decisions, make good decisions just with knowledge, just with intuition. You need to use your creativity. So be able to use what you know and try something different. Try something that goes beyond what's usual. Always remember to use your intuition. Your intuition will be important in that aspect. So to join and to find a good decision, always remember to find inside you your feelings, your thoughts, and how you bring it together with knowledge. So knowledge will be an important aspect for making a decision. So you need to join together your creativity, your intuition, your feelings, and knowledge. All this together is the only thing that will lead you to achieve highest performance. And I expect you in your career to really be able to join everything and to be really successful in in what you desire for your career. And that's it, students. I wish that may the force be with you. So that's it, and that's all, folks. Thank you. Goodbye.